Good morning. We have just left home from between Canterbury and Dover. Yesterday afternoon I got a call, fire damaged house in Cambridgeshire, so we're nipping over there. It's apparently it's quite badly damaged and they want an initial assessment as to what needs to be done to make it safe. Now, we have these from time to time. It could be some floor joists have burnt through and the floor looks unstable, or it could be the house is on the verge of collapse. Chance of it being either of those is probably fairly slim. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, but it could be interesting, so we thought we'd put this one on video, and we'll touch base again when we get to Cambridge. So this is a day one inspection. We've been asked to look initially at any emergency works, so straight away we've got to get Harris fencing up to protect this site area. So this was a double garage. The house is actually, four walls are okay. Lost the roof and the gables are going to be flapping about in the wind, so they need to be protected. But the issue on this claim was, or this fire should I say, was down there is an oil tank. This is next door's oil tank. Stepping into next door's garden now, around the back of the garages. So we've got to look at ground remediation work over this whole area here. These are the kind of issues that present themselves when we deal with insurance claims, particularly major loss fires like this. We need to make sure this area is cleared, and then we have to do ground investigations with an environmental consultancy to see how far the oil spread. But at the same time, we need to get a tin hat over the property to stabilise and tie the gable ends of the property in to stabilise them. But we can't have the scaffolding on the floor because we need to do ground remediation works. So what we'll be looking at here is maybe have a 6 metre bridge on the scaffolding, so we can clear out this area, get a digger in here, dig down, take all the contaminated soil away, while still protecting the gable walls, while still having the scaffolding up, so that there's no issues there. So something's happened, I'm not quite sure what, but the green is the remainder of the oil tank, and it's set alight to the back of the garage. It's taken the garage out completely, and the roof's collapsed, and it's obviously brickwork walls have failed. And then it's set alight to our house. We can just about make out the gable wall at the front where that chimney is, and there's another gable wall at the back, which is my main concern at the moment. Fortunately, it's not on a public area, it's on a private area. So what we'll do is we'll get the scaffolding up and over the property, and it can be tied essentially with like a couple of little scaffold tubes to clamp that wall in, and that'll stop it from going anywhere. This brickwork will clean. We use, we'll specify something like torque or doff cleaning, and we can put chemicals in that as well to get this brickwork back to new. They're common flattens with a diagonal wire cut. Haven't been able to get inside, but it's going to be a full strip out inside and a brand new roof as well. So this all happened to the adjoining owner's property, which is our client, and then to the house that was affected. They're going to need a new roof and probably a full strip out as well. We may be appointed on that one, but we will see. So that's a very brief look at what today has brought to us. We met a builder here earlier. He's gone away. He's now pricing everything up for the emergency works, which is the Harris fencing, a bit of clearance work. It'll also give us a cost for the scaffolding and taking away all this rubble and general debris. And we'll video the next one when we should get inside to do a full measured internal survey. So the next phase in what we do back at the office is to prepare a drawing. This is for the benefit of anyone who's visiting the site to know what's going on. So the grey hatched part in the middle is our house. Then we've got the garages shown in the dashed line, and we're going to need to plot the adjoining owner's building just over here, and we use triangulation for this. So we've got some points. This is point A, and we're measuring out here to point B on the next door's property, and this is point C. And again, we put in our dimension that's from the corner, the rear corner of the building, to the front corner of the adjoining property. Once we've got that, we've got little crosshairs then. Where they intersect, we've got essentially crosshairs. So we'll just delete the lines to get rid of the worst of that. Those crosshairs are now the front corner of the property. So now we do the same thing again for the rear wall. So we start out point A and we have a dimension across to point D. Type that in. And then again from point C at the rear of our property to the rear of the adjoining property. Type that in. And again we've got an intersection point between the two there. We now draw a line between the intersection point to the front intersection point, and that gives us the flank wall of the adjoining owner's property. We can then draw a line that hits that at a tangent, so it's absolutely square, and then that can be moved, or in this case I've copied and pasted it, so it forms the front and rear wall of the property. So it gives the readers the drawing an accurate layout of the adjoining owner's property in connection to their garage, which is shown dashed, and our property, which is shown fully hatched. So what we're doing here is just offsetting, say 300 millimeters, and then filleting the corners, closing the hatch box, and then we'll hatch that a slightly different colour, or solid actually, to match the main building there. And what we then do is we send that to the rear, so that the hatching, when it's printed out or PDF'd, is a light grey, and the walls of the building are in a slightly darker colour. So our property is number 31, so we'll just label that up as number 33. So next job is to plot where the oil tank was on this property. Now it's an approximate size, so we'll just do a rectangle of the sizes of the oil tank, and we'll just pop this in here. We don't know, because it was just a mass of melted plastic on the floor, what the tank was. So that's just an approximate size and location of the tank. We can then label that up so people know what that dashed box actually means. Approximate location of oil tank. There we go. And then we'll just change that because we're going to print it off at 1 to 100. So that just enlarges the text slightly. And then we can pop what we call a leader on here, which is an arrow or an arrowhead, which actually points to it. And then by this stage, most of the drawing is done. There's not a tremendous amount left to do. Just a few little tidy up points here and there. So our concern is that the oil spilt from this tank, and we don't know how far it's gone. You know, if it's gone this far, we're looking at potentially taking the next door house down. All that area there, if the oil has seeped completely under next door's property. If it's a more localized spread of oil, then we can deal with that by removal of the soil. That goes off as contaminated waste, and then we can deal with our repairs. Now, the reason why I'm showing these dimensions here is an oil tank should be at least 2 meters from an adjoining property, and if there's no adjoining properties there, it should be at least 750 from a boundary. So our oil tank was much closer than current regulations would actually dictate that it can be. So that's the drawing done. We'll now get this off to environmental consultants so they can price up for the investigation works that are required. Okay, so we've done our site inspection. We've produced a drawing that shows where the oil tank was, and a site plan to show the relationship between the houses and where the garage is with all the damage. We'll get the drawings off to environmental consultants that will provide us with a quote for the site investigations and contamination reports, because that's obviously something we wouldn't do as building surveyors. But the next thing we need to do is produce a schedule of work for the first stage, which sometimes we refer to as emergency works, but that's boarding up and making safe. This goes a little bit further than that, so it's things like site clearance, Harris fencing around the protected area, which we've actually already got a quote for, and that's already got off for approval. And then we want a tin hat popped over the property. So this is a scaffold that goes right the way around the building with a protective lid over the top. Now the building is significantly damaged, but we want to protect the remainder as much as we possibly can, because we've got 4 good walls there, and we can strip out all the remaining rubbish that's inside, so the roof that's fallen into the property. Haven't had a chance to see the inside of the building yet, so we don't know what the level of damage is to the floor to the first floor joists. But the ground floor doesn't look to be too bad at all. It seems to be that the oil tank set fire to the garage, which then the roof of the garage set fire to the roof of our property. One thing that we come across quite often, particularly if we're dealing with high level fires such as roofs or blocks of flats, is anything above the level of the fire can be catastrophic level of damage. But immediately below, it's like you wouldn't know that there's no roof on the property if you're on the ground floor, because fires generally go up. So if that is the case, it might be that the first floor of the property is sound. Ideally that will be good, because it means the structure of the building hasn't been too badly compromised, but we'll only be able to see that when we're next to the property and we get access inside, which we'll probably put on video because that should be quite interesting. So produce a schedule of work. Like I say, this will be for site clearance, scaffolding, reconnection of power, and a temporary builder supply, because all the power connections have been cut off, which is completely fair enough. That's something that's done after most fires in buildings, and it's so that no one comes along, reconnects the power, and you've got bare cables in the property which can electrocute someone. So that is quite fundamental. So we'll get all this done. Then hopefully next time we visit, scaffolding will be up, and the site will be made secure, and part of it will be cleared out. But that is now all going to be with the loss adjuster for approval. Okay, bear with us, and we'll do more videos on this one. Thank you.